Okay, let's get to the modeling. Every time you open Blender, you're gonna see this two light, and you need to delete it because it's in your way. If you want to start with this only cube scene, you can first delete the light and camera and then go to the file. Default save startup files. If you save a startup file, the next time you open, for example, a new general scene, you can see that it's only the cube and not the light and camera. And now is the time of modeling, and we want to model a bench. For a start, we need to add the image to our scene, and as I have said before, we can go to the add, image, reference, and find the place that I put our image, and for example I put it here, and then click on bench and load reference image. And it's not at a very nice angle, so I click on image, press delete to delete it, and back to the -y angle. Then add my image from add, or the shortcut is shift A. If I press shift A, the same menu as add is gonna be displayed. So I go to the image, reference, bench, and I add my bench to the scene. Then I back with middle click to the perspective view, and I don't like the image at the center of the scene, so I want to push it back. I click my image, and what was the tools for moving our object? It was the move tools. So I want to push it at y axis, so I select the green arrow and push it back. And if this grid is our imaginary earth, so I like to push it a little to the top and also scale it. And what was the tools for resizing our object? It was a scale. So you don't want to select one of these axes because it's gonna change the proportion of your image. For resizing your object equally at both axes, you need to press on the white circle. So I press on Y and hold and drag. And this is the size, a little more up, and okay. Now I need to select one part of the reference object so that I can start modeling from that. And if I want to draw for you surface, this is the part that I want to create my object from. So I need to turn this cube to this shape, and for changing the shape of our object, we need to go to the edit mode, and it's a bad practice to change the shape of your cube in the object mode. And what I mean is you can select a scale and change the cube to something like this, but it's a really bad practice. So I'm gonna Control Z and then go to the object mode and change the object mode to edit mode because we want to edit our cube. So now we want to change this cube to this shape. We can either use a scale, and a scale is always a better practice because you can keep your symmetry. And you can see that I can change my cube shape and also keep my symmetry at the same time. But you can also use change the selection mode to face selection, and then for example select this face, and from the move tools change your face to the shape you want. But it's the scale tools is better because it keeps your object symmetrized. So I'm gonna press Ctrl Z and use the scale again, but now I don't select all of my object. If you want to select all of your object, you can go to the select all, or simply press the shortcut A. If I press A, all of my object is gonna be selected. So once again, I'm gonna scale my object and then along the z-axis, and I think this is a shape that I want. And now I need to move it up because it's upper than the ground. So I select move tools and move my object along the z-axis. Okay, so we create our base shape. Now we want to create these legs, but we don't have anything in here on our object. For example, we don't have any edge to say to Blender that, okay, I want to extend my object from this part. And this is where the loop tools coming, and the loop tools is a tool that you can add any edge you want anywhere on your object. For accessing the loop tools, you can come here, and on this icon you can see that we have a cube that has a green edge on it, and this is loop cut tools. And if I press on the loop cut, the moment I hover on any one of object or close to any edge, you can see that we have a preview of the edge that we can create, and it's always gonna be perpendicular to the edge that we hover our mouse on. And if I change my mouse close to the, for example, this edge, it's gonna perpendicular to this one, and also this one. So I want to create an edge perpendicular to this one because it's gonna be an edge right here. And what I mean is, let me draw another shape, change the color. I want to be red. I want to create an edge here, okay, so that after I create the edge, I tell Blender that I want to extend a shape from this face. But since we don't have any edge, we can't select any face here. So I want to add an edge here. I once again press the loop cut tools, hover my mouse on edge and select edge. And you can see that one edge is gonna be created. Every time you use the loop cut tools, you can also see the options here. And if I click on the loop cut and slide tools, this is the options that we have. For now, I'm explaining this couple of the first options. The first one is number of cuts. Number of cuts is the number of edge that you can have, and if I increase the number, you can have for example 2 edges, 3 edges, 4 edges, as much as you want. The smoothness is for the time that you want to create a shape like this. For example, if I change the edges so much and increase the smoothness, you can see that it's gonna create a shape like this. And if I change this fall off, the shape that I created is gonna also change. So let me back to the 0 and this to the 1, and factor is the place of your edge. When it's 0, it's gonna be at the center of the edge that you clicked on. And if you change it, you can see that I can create the edge that I want. For example, I want an edge here, and I can also add another edge and then change the number to that place so that I can have the 2 edges that I want. But if I look at my object at -y angle, you can see that the values are not exactly the same. And in objects that have symmetry, for example, this bench have a symmetry, it's a really good practice to try to keep the symmetry of your object. So for backing to the previous action, I'm gonna press Ctrl Z, and now this is a technique that you need to learn. First, I create an edge, and then I increase the number of cuts to 2 edges. I create the 2 edges that I want. Now I want to increase the distance between these two objects, and we have a tools for it, and you may not know it, but it's exactly the tools that gonna resize your object, and this is scale tools. And what is scale tools do is that it's gonna create a imaginary cube around the elements that you selected. For example, it's created an imaginary cube here, and when I increase the size of this imaginary cube along the x-axis, it's gonna change the distance of these two edges and keep the symmetry. And now the new cube is, for example, this cube that SK is working on. It's gonna change to this. Okay, so this is a technique for changing the distance of two edges and keep the symmetry, but you need to make sure that your first object, and what I mean of first object is the cube. You need to make sure that your cube has also a symmetry. So I once again press scale, and I'm gonna increase the distance a little more. Now that I create my edge, I can tell the Blender that I want to extend my shape based on, for example, this face and this face. And we're gonna talk about how to extend our shape based on face, but for now let me talk more about the loop cut. I told you that you can add any edge you want by pressing on the loop cut tools and holding on edge. But if you use the shortcut of the loop cut tools, it's gonna be more convenient for you to use this shortcut. And I never use the tools for adding my edge to the object. I always use the shortcut, and the shortcut is Ctrl R. And if I hold Ctrl and press R and hover my mouse on any one of this edge, for example here, you can see that it's gonna display an edge the same as using the tools. But the benefit of using the shortcut is that I can now increase my number of edge by scrolling my mouse, and if I use my scroll mouse up, I can increase the number of edge, and if I use my scroll mouse to down, I can decrease my number of cut. And also after I, for example, choose, for example, to have two edge, if I left click again, the next part is that I can change position of my loop cuts, and I can, for example, put it right here. And that is the benefit of using the shortcut. By using the shortcut, you have options to choose the number of cut and position of the edge before you even come to here and change the details. In the next video, we're gonna talk about a tool named Extrude that can change form based on face. I wanted to review one more time on the workflow of modeling. First, you choose some part of your reference object, and that part is better to be the biggest part that connected all the other parts. After that, for adding more detail to your object and created the other parts, you add more edge and faces to your object, and then create the shapes with those faces. And we are gonna do it in the next video. And if this video was helpful to you, you can subscribe or like. See you on the next video.